The 2025 WWE Royal Rumble is now behind us and in the history books, and so much happened from predictability to unpredictability. The fans were all over the place last night with the results of the show, and I'm here to give you my take on everything that went down at the Royal Rumble last night, as well as at the very end of the video, I'm going to take some of your comments that I asked you guys for last night on my TikTok video of hot takes after the Royal Rumble. I'm going to comment on every single one and tell you my thoughts on all of your hot takes from that video. If you want to see all of my reactions, they are posted right now on my Instagram, instagram.com/itsHeelJosh is where you could go see all of my reactions from my Twitch stream and YouTube stream last night. So make sure you guys go check out all of my reactions from the show. And if you didn't know, I do the live reactions on Twitch and YouTube, so make sure you guys are following me on Twitch and have that notification bell checked, as well as subscribe to me right here on YouTube with that notification bell turned on so you guys know when I go live for these live reactions. Now let's dive right into my Royal Rumble review. The night started off with the Women's Royal Rumble, and this match was loaded with superstars. We had 5 NXT talents show up in Roxanne Perez, NXT Women's Champion Julia, Lash legend Stephanie Vaquer, and Jada Parker all made their Royal Rumble appearances last night. Roxanne being the standout out of them all, being the Iron Woman last night, setting the record for longest time spent in a Women's Royal Rumble, entering at number 3, which ironically, Liv Morgan and Io Sky, who were respectively number 1 and 2 in last night's Women's Royal Rumble, also broke Bayley's record from last year, but because Roxanne lasted just minutes longer than them, she set the record, in which was an amazing performance from Roxanne Perez. Io and Liv also had really great performances last night. They both broke the record that Bayley set as well, but they weren't able to last as long as Roxanne Perez, and unfortunately, a lot of them got eliminated in a really unfortunate way. Now, I've seen a lot of people talk about this already, but I'm just going to go ahead and share my 2 cents on it, with Nia Jax eliminating 6 women at once. There was a spot during the Royal Rumble where we saw Bianca and Io and Liv and a multitude of other women on the outside of the apron, basically going over the top at one point by pulling each other all over, and Nia just bum rushed them all, knocking them all off. And again, you had names in there like Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Io Sky, all just eliminated by one swift move of the hips by Nia Jax. And a lot of people are upset about this. And I wouldn't say I'm upset about it, but it did no one anything good. It really just made everyone look super weak. It didn't really do anything for Nia at the same time, because she ended up losing anyways. Cool, we made Nia strong, our former women's champion, but there was no direction set for her after that. There wasn't like, oh, this is the clear direction for Nia Jax, or oh, this was the clear direction for Bianca Belair after, or oh, this is the clear direction for Liv or Io. There's just so many like, what was that? What is that leading to? I don't even see anything coming out of that. Are we going to get a 7-woman match with all the women who got eliminated? Like, where is this leading to, WWE? I'm going to let this play out. At the end of the day, I don't like the way they went about it. It just made everyone that got eliminated by Nia in that one spot feel less important. It didn't set up anything in the long run, which I really love the Royal Rumble for. The Royal Rumble is usually a match that will set up so many different possible feuds for the year, which I feel we got during the Men's Rumble, but we got less during the Women's Rumble this year. But let me know what you thought on Nia Jax's spot eliminating everyone in the match. Of course, though, what everyone I think really anticipated was Charlotte Flair winning this Women's Royal Rumble. The video packages leading up to this Royal Rumble for Charlotte's return were essentially her agreeing that she's, oh, I'm overrated. Oh, they say this about me, and I can see why they say it, but I'm still going to prove them wrong type video packages. And it's like, what do you have to prove as a 14-time women's champion? And people joke about it, ad Newsom on the internet, that no matter how long she's gone, no matter what she's doing when she's freaking in the company, or like when she comes back from injury, it always leads to her getting a title opportunity. And at the end of the day, you can only do that so much before the fans get tired of it. And Charlotte Flair is a great women's wrestler. I'll always stand by the fact that I think she's one of the greatest women's wrestlers in the WWE today, even a year after her injury. But the fact that you're just always shoving her down our throats, ad Newsom, like we saw with Roman Reigns back in the freaking 20-teens. It's the same story, different person, and a different decade. So it's really frustrating to see that Charlotte is always in these situations, no matter where the story is in the WWE at the time. That's always where it goes. So am I mad that Charlotte won the Royal Rumble? No, not really. I predicted her winning the Royal Rumble, as did so many other people. As long as this leads to her putting Tiffany over and losing at WrestleMania, I'm fine with it. As long as Tiffany could come off looking like a stud, I'm 100% game with this, because I don't see her facing Rhea Ripley again at WrestleMania. So I'm hoping Tiffany can beat her ass at Mania. They make Tiffany look good, and we move on to the next generation of women being shoved down our throats. Now, besides those NXT women, we had a few surprises in 2 big returns. I guess technically 3, but one is now officially signed to the company in Jordynne Grace, who was only appearing as a TNA superstar, who made her 2nd ever Royal Rumble appearance, but this time under the WWE umbrella. She is now officially signed. We don't know if she's going to NXT. I mean, we could kind of guess based off Jada Parker and her feuding down in that Royal Rumble match that she'll probably be feuding with Jada, since that's who eliminated her. But when it comes to the other 2, we had the return of Nikki Bella. We don't know if she's going to be back full time or if this was just the one-off for the Rumble. I guess we'll have to wait and see. My guess, it was just a one-off for the Royal Rumble. As for the other one, it was Alexa Bliss. There was a lot of talk on the dirt sheets about her, if she would be there. She was having some contract negotiations go on, but it looks like everything was settled the day of the Royal Rumble yesterday, and she made her appearance at number 21 to a humongous pop. Now, a lot of people were upset that Nikki Bella was 30. A lot of people, of course, wanted many other people to be in this Rumble, like mainly AJ Lee was the one that a lot of people talked about. But my biggest surprise was that they didn't put Alexa in 30. Instead, they put Nikki Bella, who obviously got a good pop as well, but Alexa's pop was second to none in that Women's Royal Rumble. So I think it would have been better off if they would have had Alexa Bliss come out at 30 while they would have had Nikki come out at 21. I think the reactions would have been a lot more tame if that was the case. But at the end of the day, the WWE is going to do no matter what they want to do, regardless of reactions, even though there was a lot of great reactions to what we wanted last night. So at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this Women's Royal Rumble. I thought it set up some pretty decent matchups that we might see in the future with some of the women, but I really hated that Nia Jax spot where she pushed out 6 people with one swift move. That's just didn't do anything for anyone in that sense. So what did you guys think of that Women's Royal Rumble? Let me know down in the comments below. From there, we jumped right into our tag team title match, which was 2 out of 3 falls as Motor City Machine Guns take on DIY. Now, this had been brewing for the last month or two now between DIY and MCMG, where DIY cheated to get those tag titles, but this match ended up having a similar ending. Match was great overall. I really thought the match was hitting on all cylinders. I thought DIY and MCMG were actually having a really great match for this live crowd, who didn't seem initially invested at the beginning of the match, which was unfortunate. But the match played out really well. I was a little surprised that Pretty Deadly didn't get involved. I know they said on Friday that they were going to give DIY the chance to do this on their own, which I was like, oh, cool. But I actually expected that to be kind of like a swerve for MCMG to not expect them, but they actually didn't help DIY, and DIY surprisingly picked up the first fall. Once the match really got going, the crowd was really getting invested in this matchup as the 4 men were having a banger at the Royal Rumble. MCMG, of course, tied the match, and we went to our third and final fall, where the Street Profits ended up coming out and stopping MCMG from winning. It actually seemed like MCMG were about to pull off the victory, and then we saw Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. Montez Ford distracted the ref, which led to Dawkins with his crutch, which everyone was saying he was on crutches all weekend long and not to expect the Profits do anything anytime soon. And here they come with Dawkins with his crutch, and he hits, I believe it was Alex Shelley, off the top turnbuckle, thus causing DIY to retain. But then they attacked DIY after the match. So they laid out both teams after the match, even though DIY, they helped them retain technically. They still beat them down afterwards. So once again, we're getting heel Street Profits. Great match, unexpected ending, but not in a good sense. I really felt like it took away from what was a really solid in-ring match. It just was really, I guess, not random, because there was some buildup with the Profits getting screwed already, but like at the same time, it was unexpected, which is good, but I just didn't feel like it was necessary for the Royal Rumble. They could have pushed this off to like SmackDown, bring them on and have them do something. But what do you guys think? MCMG lose via Street Profits, and then Street Profits go after DIY. Great match. I didn't care for the ending after all. I'm not gonna lie. From there, we jumped straight into the ladder match for the WWE Championship as Cody Rhodes defended against Kevin Owens. And this match was brutal. These men put it all on the line. Kevin Owens was a bloody mess during the matchup, as well as the insane Kevin Owens ladder spot happened where they put the ladder on its side, opened it up, and Kevin took an insane backdrop on it from Cody Rhodes. As well as towards the end, there was an insane Alabama slam from the commentary desk from Cody Rhodes to Kevin Owens through the ladder. He ends up upside down. It's what leads to Cody Rhodes getting the victory, getting those titles down from the top of the ladder. But man, what an insane matchup. We did have Sami Zayn come out when Kevin was getting beat down towards the end, but he never helped him. He just checked on him. He also did check on Cody after one of Cody's insane bumps, but he never helped either men. This, of course, played out in the Royal Rumble, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes put on a show which I actually think was match of the night. I mean, obviously we had 2 regular matches on top of our 2 Royal Rumbles, but my goodness, was this match insanely brutal and insanely amazing. I honestly think it's one of the best ladder matches of recent time. I think that these two have put on a great story for the past few months leading up to this, and I was expecting maybe Sami Zayn to do something here, but all he did was be impartial by checking on both men and leaving it at that, which was a little surprising to me, but I'm glad at the end of the day that's what it was. But they did a really good job at making me think that with the Karrion Kross talking to Sami and with Kevin Owens talking to him the week prior, that there was going to be something with Sami getting involved more outside of just checking on his friends. So I commend WWE for actually actually giving me hope that something like that could happen because they've been building the story up great. Overall, the match was my match of the night. I thought these two put on a great story. I'm excited to see where Cody is going to go from here, where Kevin's going to go from here. There's so many avenues that they could go, especially with Kevin Owens and his history with all these other people. Will he finally move on now that he lost fair and square in that ladder match? Will he try to go after more? I mean, there's so much that you could do here, and I'm kind of hoping that Kevin moves on here and we go on to something maybe like Randy Kevin again, with Randy returning hopefully soon before WrestleMania, and Cody moves on to maybe John Cena. I mean, there's many different routes that you could go after last night's Rumble for the men, but at the end of the day, match of the night was great, and I hope that these two once again will battle in the future. Now let's get into the hot topic of last night, the men's Royal Rumble, where a lot of us, myself included, were saying it was one of the most unpredictable Royal Rumbles going in years, and I feel like I've said that for the past few years, but last night was really unpredictable with all the big names that were involved in that Royal Rumble match. With names like Roman Reigns, John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and so many more who are former world champions in this, how can you go wrong here? But apparently some thought it did go wrong, which we'll go into in a bit here. The Royal Rumble started with two big luchadors in Rey Mysterio, which ironically somehow my fiance said last second, like 10 minutes before the Rumble started, that she felt Rey was going to start it, and he did. And he squared off against the number 2 entry in Penta. Now, of course, these two have faced off outside of the WWE, but it was amazing to see them square off at the beginning of the men's Royal Rumble, where they both did their taunts of Cero Medo. Rey did do his 619, but he never like does that as a taunt, so like the crowd wasn't really ready for it. And they opened up the Royal Rumble to some pretty good moves and good action. And then eventually, of course, as people started piling on, the Rumble went into full force. They really set up a lot of the stories that were building up to the Royal Rumble really well inside the Royal Rumble. We had Chad Gable come out at number 3. Of course, his story lately is that he's been having issues with luchadors. He's trying to seek help to beat luchadors. So him being number 3 was awesome. Carmelo Hayes had some good spots in this year's Royal Rumble. Immediately, Santos Escobar came in after him. So we had another lucha in there with Chad Gable, which was awesome. Immediately, they brought in Otis after him. Of course, Otis having issues with Chad Gable. Just all these stories lining up and tying together was just amazing. Now, the fun part of this Royal Rumble came when Tozawa came out at number 8. But as he was coming out, Melo Hayes, who had already been eliminated, was heading to the back. He knocked out Tozawa. They immediately dragged Tozawa to the back. And I actually thought this was amazing because I had iShow's speed stream up at the time because people in my chat were like, hey, he's interviewing Stephanie McMahon. This is really cool. And he's in Gorilla. So I was like, oh, snap. I want to see this. So I pulled up his stream a good 15 seconds before Tozawa even went out to the ring, right? So I'm watching his stream. I actually had turned up the volume to hear what Stephanie was saying. And so I saw it happen and play out on his stream before it happened on Peacock for me, obviously, because he's there live and he's streaming via Twitch or YouTube. So I was able to catch it before. So my reaction happened before most of the people were watching it on Peacock because I was watching it on his stream. So that made it even more crazy to me that I was seeing this before, you know, a lot of my chat because they weren't watching that speed stream. And I wasn't showing it just out of fear of any possible copyright because WWE's been crazy about that lately. So it was crazy because I was reacting before basically anything that you see, even on my reactions that I posted online, because I was seeing it before there and I didn't have it set to where you see speed stream on my reactions. So I'm like freaking out over the spear before it even happened on Peacock and everything because it was insane. Like, how can you see someone like a streamer like Speed? You know, he's obviously, you know, showed up last year's WrestleMania, took an RKO, but this year shows up to the Royal Rumble, gets thrown into it by Triple H because a wrestler gets attacked beforehand, and he goes out there and he eats one of the most brutal spears I've ever seen. The fan footage of it, because they ended up cutting on the WWE footage right as he gets hit. I'm not sure why. Kind of lessened the impact on screen. But if you watch the live footage from either Speed's videographer or anyone else that was in the arena that was recording when that happened, it is one of the most brutal looking spears I've ever seen anyone take. Braun Breaker, I don't even think he hit his top speed when he hit this. He was like, this guy's speed, I won't even go half speed to kill him. And he did. He fucking murdered this guy. And then he yeeted him outside where Oda caught him and then just yeeted him himself over the commentary desk. So Speed ends up getting carried out of the arena. They put him on a golf cart and the cameraman looks at his leg. He had a really nasty, looked like a burn almost, like if he burned off a piece of his skin. It was just a pink layer of skin, a score patch that he was missing. It was crazy. But shout out to iShow Speed for going out there, taking that nasty spear and taking a big bump over the announce table, man. Props to him. It was actually a good moment because I was initially saying, I hope they don't put any celebrities like Speed or all that. And it ended up playing out really well. WWE, I love when you prove me wrong. We also had some other great appearances, but one thing I do want to bring up really quickly, there was a surprise that there was no men NXT talent whatsoever in this match. No Obafemi, no Trick Williams, no Ethan Page. Nobody from NXT was represented in this match, which was very surprising to me because we also didn't have any legend return in the men's Royal Rumble. It was all main roster and iShow Speed, which was rather surprising because we usually get at least one legend, which we had a few in the women's Royal Rumble on top of the NXT talent, but on the men's, we didn't have any. And I see a lot of people complaining about that. There wasn't enough surprises. But at the end of the day, I've said this for the past few years. I'm fine when that happens. I think that's not a bad thing. I like the fact that WWE has such a loaded roster that they feel it's necessary to include as much as them in their Royal Rumble match. Now, obviously, throughout the years, we've had tons of surprises in the, 30 plus year history of the Royal Rumble. I couldn't tell you the exact years without Googling it. But like at the end of the day, there's been so many Royal Rumbles where we get the surprises. And then there's been many Royal Rumbles, I'd say just as many, where we don't get a lot of surprises. And I've grown up with the Royal Rumble. Like it's been a thing since before I was born. So I've seen I've probably seen every edition of the Royal Rumble. I couldn't tell you the winners and losers of all of them off the top of my head. But I've seen, I think, almost every Royal Rumble, if not all of them, and could say I'm fine if there's a ton of surprises and I'm fine if there's not. As long as the match stories play out fine, I'm fine with it. And I thought last night's Men Royal Rumble was fine. I didn't think there was anything like bad about it. I really didn't personally. And we're going to go into what people did think were bad about it here shortly. But I am going to get into more of what I liked real quick. So obviously without the NXT talent and the legends, it was a bit of a surprise, but the roster was loaded. Like we had AJ Styles return, which was great. You know, we had John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Damian Priest, LA Knight, Jey Uso, Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, like such a stacked Royal Rumble. Jacob Fatu was in there, Jimmy Uso, Braun Breaker. So you had so many people that we hadn't seen interact before. Like when Braun Breaker speared Roman Reigns, when Roman went to spear him, that was insane. We got to see Joe Henry. And for those who said he wasn't going to get a massive pop, go back and watch that because it was the loudest pop of the men's Royal Rumble. What made it even better was Joe Henry was doing his spots and Sheamus just stood in the corner and he was enjoying every bit of it. He was joining in on the doom doom little thing that he does. He was joining in on everything, just standing there watching it until Jacob Fatu laid out Joe Henry. And then Sheamus got mad. Goes up to Jacob. He's like, why are you so angry? I was enjoying that, which was hilarious to see. But it was great to see a lot of these interactions you would never expect to see in the Royal Rumble. Like Roman Reigns spearing Joe Henry. Like who would have thought of seeing that last night? I was surprised that Jacob Fatu got eliminated by Braun Strowman. I know that they didn't have a finish to their match at Saturday Night's Main Event a week prior. They ended with Jacob just laying out Braun Strowman, making him bleed with the cheeks to the face and multiple moves from the top rope. But at the end of the day, I was surprised that Jacob was so easily eliminated just by Braun Strowman. I mean, he's the monster among men. He's 7 foot, whatever he is. He's a big, big motherfucker. But I was surprised he eliminated Jacob with ease. It was just not on my card last night. Overall, I would say nothing in that Royal Rumble made me upset. I think it was actually from top to bottom one of my favorite men's Royal Rumbles in a long time. But let's get to the elephant in the room, the winner of the men's Royal Rumble. Our final two ended up being John Cena and Jey Uso. Initially, the final three was Logan, John Cena, and Jey, but John was able to eliminate Logan Paul, who was number 30, which a lot of people also did not like. And myself, I'm fine with it. As much as we knew he was going to be 30 at that point, I'm fine with it. No issue here. But the problem for a lot of people is that John Cena didn't win the Royal Rumble when he's trying to get that 17th world title. And I think that makes it even better that people are mad. Because if he is to get that 17th title, which I wouldn't doubt it at this point, he's going to be here till December, the pop is going to be ridiculous. And there's going to be the people who, when he does get it, or if he does get it and it's not when they want it, they're going to be like, it should have happened at Mania. Which it still can. He doesn't even need to win the Rumble to get a title match at WrestleMania. Which if you saw the press conference after the Royal Rumble last night, he came out, took no questions, and cut an amazing 3-minute promo about how he'll be at Elimination Chamber in the Chamber match to face for the world title at WrestleMania. Now, whether that be the WWE title or world title, it depends on what Jey picks. But a lot of fans were not happy that Jey Uso eliminated John Cena. The majority of the people that I've seen complaining online about it are saying that Jey can't wrestle. He had the worst match last year at WrestleMania 40. He's just a tag team wrestler. And it's hilarious to see those comments when the majority of those same accounts on Twitter and other social media are the same accounts saying that pro wrestling isn't the most important thing in WWE and it's the storytelling, which is exactly how that show went down last night. And when I say it's the same accounts, I'm not saying like, oh, this person I follow said it. It's the same accounts I'm seeing, the grifters on social media who are just mad that their favorite didn't win. And they're like, oh, well, this person, yeah, that person did have a bad match at WrestleMania last year. And they're still the biggest merch seller in the company. And they still get the biggest pops in the company. And they still get the most ratings when they're on it quarterly on TV. Luckily, these fans aren't running the WWE because it would have been out of business decades ago if that was the case. Because WWE runs more like a business than it does a pro wrestling company. And these fans, I think, are blind to that. Or they're just mad that their favorite didn't win and they wanted what they wanted isn't happening, which I totally think the majority of that is the case. So yes, I will agree. Jey Uso had probably one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history last year against his own brother. But I will also argue that that doesn't matter at the end of the day, just like those Twitter fans that say, because the WWE is more about sports and entertainment than it is about the in-ring aspect of it. Do you have to be a good wrestler? Yes. Do I think Jey is a good wrestler? Yes, I think he's a fantastic wrestler. Did he have a stinker at WrestleMania 40? Yes. Does that mean he shouldn't win the Royal Rumble this year and main event WrestleMania 41? No. Should it be be taken into consideration? Sure. But at the end of the day, if you only had one bad match and the rest was pretty solid where you're over the rest of the year, I think that's going to negate possibly one bad match. Now, I know people are like, but then there was this. This was a shitty story. Okay, cool. That's shitty part on Triple H, not Jey Uso. But at the end of the day, I'm 1000% fine with Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. Now, let's jump right into the hot takes I asked you guys for. These are people that have commented on my TikTok video that last night I asked for your hot takes after the Royal Rumble. And here's the few that I picked out to comment on. Jacob Jackson commented, Jay simply doesn't have the star power to main event WrestleMania. I get that he's over, but him versus Gunther for the 100th time isn't going to cut it. I personally see the two main events being Punk versus Seth versus Roman, and his second one being Cena versus Cody, because Cena will win at the Elimination Chamber. I have a few comments about this. Obviously, not all of us are always going to see the eye to eye, and nothing but respect to you, Jacob, but I respectfully disagree. You say that Jey Uso doesn't have the star power to main event WrestleMania when he already has done so. He already has that star power, and he's already main evented WrestleMania. You go on to say that I get he's over, which to me is a contradiction of you saying he doesn't have the star power, while also acknowledging that he's over. Now, I get we're all going to have different opinions. You're going to say he's over to an extent, but I don't think he's over for main event status. But again, I think you're contradicting yourself when he's already main evented WrestleMania. Was it a tag team match and not a singles match? Yes, but it's a main event regardless of what type of match, how many people were involved. It's a Mania main event, and the WWE have presented him in one already, and it was received amazingly by the community. But it was a tag team match, so it's not the same. It is. It doesn't matter if it's a tag team match. It's pro wrestling. Pro wrestling at the end of the day is pro wrestling, and he pro wrestled at WrestleMania 39 in the main event night one, and he may be doing so again. They say WrestleMania main event when people win the Rumbles, but sometimes they don't main event. So who knows if this will even main event a Mania, but at the end of the day, he's already done it, so I think that already proves you wrong. Jared Talks Wrestling says, Jey Uso winning will be looked back on as a terrible decision. It was only done for the shock value, which is also funny to me. And now I don't know anything about Jared Talks Wrestling here, so this is just me grouping a lot of the pro wrestling fans on the internet together. There is some pro wrestling fans that I've seen, the same accounts, not Jared Talks Wrestling here, but I've seen on Twitter, on Instagram, these accounts saying that all this Rumble's too predictable, John Cena's gonna win it. And then those same people got mad when it was Jay's saying that they went for the shock factor. Now, again, I'm not saying this is Jared Talks Wrestling that did that. There's many people who think that way. And it's really surprising to me that people do that. So at the end of the day, I disagree that this being a terrible decision. Jared, I wish you would have went more into detail at why you believe it's a terrible decision and just instead of stating it, because at the end of the day, my immediate thought is that you think it's a terrible decision because you wanted someone else to win. Now, again, I don't know what that opinion is because you didn't go on to share what that is, but I will say that next time, let's go ahead and share more a little detail if I could go more into why you think that and maybe understand why you think that. This pretty much basic comment is just coming off to me as a, not who I wanted to win, so this was a terrible decision. I could be 1000% wrong, Jared, but next time, let's go a little bit more in detail so I get an idea why you think it's a terrible decision. Because all I can say to this, I respectfully disagree. USC 2024 says it would have been nice to see another flash from the past in the men's LOL. You know what? I'm not against any legends returning, and it was surprising that we had a few in the women's, but none in the men. It was all current superstars, which at the end of the day, I'm fine with because the WWE roster is so bloated right now. You have so many titles, so many champions in this company. Like you have 3 world champions. I know they don't count NXT as world champion, but you do. You have 3 world champions at the end of the day. You try to make that title feel big and prominent in NXT, so therefore it's a world title in NXT's head, in their own canon. So at the end of the day, they have all these titles, they have all these superstars, they're so freaking bloated. I completely understand why there was no legends and no NXT talent for that men's Royal Rumble. Did I hope we saw Obafemi or Trick Williams? Fuck yeah. I thought that would have been amazing. I love the way they did it for the women this year. I would have loved that for the men. But at the end of the day, I 100% understand why we got none of them. None of the legends, none of the NXT talent. It's because they are bloated from top to bottom on this roster. Yes, we did get IShow Speed in there. He could have been not in there and they could have put in a legend or another. They didn't. And that's fine with me because that tends to happen in the Royal Rumble. And I kind of expected something to happen like that. I mean, I didn't want it to. It happened. They did it well, in my opinion, so I was fine with it. At the end of the day, do I wish more current talent that are on the road weekly with the WWE who spend more time away from their families than they do with them would be featured on these big cards? Yes. So I was 100% fine with the layout of the Rumble of who was in it. At the same time, though, I wouldn't have hated a legend to be involved. So I see where USC 2024 is coming from. I would have liked it too if it was just one. That would have been fine with me. But we didn't get it, and I understand why, but I also agree with USC. One would have been dope. I liked in 2019 how they did it. We had the one in like Double J Jeff Jarrett. We had some NXT talent in there, and then main roster talent. I thought that was one of the best done when it came to people involved in the men's Royal Rumble that they've ever did. And I was hoping to get a similar layout. We did in the women's, but we didn't really get that in the men's. And that's fine with me because at the end of the day, again, the roster is so fucking over bloated in the WWE. Can't get everyone in there. And I figured that was going to be the case tonight. But at the end of the day, I thought this Royal Rumble was amazing. I actually gave it a 5 out of 5. Was the booking perfect? No. Was it probably one of my favorite Royal Rumbles in the last 5 years? Yes. I actually thought both men's and women's Royal Rumbles were really good, stacked, both of them. I thought some of the stories were really good. Some of the stories were rather forgettable, and that's just going to be with most Rumbles. But I think the good outweighed the bad last night, and I am giving it a 5 out of 5, which I normally don't do. But after rewatching it back, I definitely give it a 5 out of 5. My biggest complaint was just the ending to the MCMG and DIY match. Other than that, I really enjoyed the show. Fine with Jey Uso winning. I'm fine with Charlotte winning. I'm fine with most of the stories that played out in the Royal Rumble. Hopefully, the ones that weren't the best, they play out a little bit better outside the Royal Rumble, and we'll see the direction where everyone's going. But let me know what you guys thought about the Royal Rumble down in the comments below. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, it doesn't matter. Let me know what you guys thought. And don't forget, I do weekly live reactions to Raw, NXT, Dynamite, SmackDown, and the PLEs that happen on the weekends over here on my Twitch and on my YouTube right here. So make sure you guys are subscribed here on YouTube, have that notification bell turned on, as well as following me on Twitch, have the notifications turned on. And I do post reactions to Instagram while the show is happening, so go follow me everywhere. Join my Discord. All of my social media is down in the links below. And on that note, I will catch you guys for the next review.